The field of medicine is so vast and comprehensive. So much goes into patient care that I think it would be a huge mistake to not introduce you guys to other aspects of medicine that all come together to make this so perfect. How's it going, YouTube? It's your favorite medical student, Henson, and with this, I wanted to start a new series where I take you guys through different interviews of people chasing different branches of medicine that were not MD. Alright, so how's it going, YouTube? We're back again with So You Want to Be Part 2. And this time we're going to be covering the second version of PA school. So here with me we have Troy Pendergrass, who is a second year at Nova Southeastern University. So this is his culminating year of PA school. So Troy, how about you introduce yourself?
Well, like he said, my name is Troy Pendergrass. I met him at that's where I went to undergrad, University of Miami. And I'm now in my last year of PA school, last couple months actually, at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale.
The next question I'm going to ask you, why did you decide to become a PA?
Okay, interesting story. So, actually, let me just run it back real quick. High school, all throughout high school, I actually hated science.
Oh, God.
I hated biology, I hated all of it. Mm-hmm. And I loved economics, I love numbers. I wanted to be an accountant for the longest time. And then actually the summer after I graduated high school, I went to Sierra Leone. And I was playing soccer on the beach. And this kid, he fell, broke his wrist, like wrist literally hanging down here. And all they really did for him, they sat him in a chair, gave him a bag of ice, and they were like, okay, let's go keep playing. And like, I was just leaving undergrad, high school. I don't know anything about medicine, but I know this is broken. Like, ice is gonna do nothing for this. And as much as I wanted to help him, like, I realized I didn't know where to begin to even help him. I just knew ice wasn't enough, but I didn't know what to do. And then right there, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go into medicine. Okay. And that's what caused that switch from the business mindset. And then actually, I graduated undergrad in 2013. I didn't even know what a PA was until like 2014 because unfortunately for PAs, for this profession, it's not really that popular yet. It's growing in popularity, but a lot of people out there still don't know what a PA is or what they do. And same thing with me. So all throughout undergrad, I was preparing to go to med school. I took the MCAT and everything. And then I was shadowing a doctor, an orthopedic surgeon that works with and I actually met his PA. And the only reason I met him was because like they both work in the same office, wear the white coat, dress up, see all the patients. They do the same thing. But one we call doctor, like Dr. So-and-so, and then the other one we just call by his first name. We just call him Mike. I'm like, yo, why do we call him doctor, but we just call you Mike? Like, you guys do the same thing. And then he told me like, yeah, I'm not a doctor, I'm a PA. I was like, oh, okay. What is that? So yeah, after that, I looked it up, and like it wasn't because I was set on going to med school for a while, but after I probably researched PA school for about like 3 months before I finally decided to make that switch and decide like, okay, I'm not gonna do the med school route anymore. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to PA school.
And then from there, there's been no looking back?
Yeah, no. People still ask me to this day, like, oh, would you want to go back and be a doctor? No.
Alright, so for the next question, walk us through your journey from undergrad to PA school. Was it traditional or was it not traditional?
I'd say it was pretty non-traditional. Okay. So like I said before, I graduated undergrad in 2013. But after that first year, like I said, I didn't know what a PA was until 2014. I was studying for the MCAT, all that stuff. And actually I did research at in like exercise research. I worked with their kinesiology department. I actually got published twice, which was great for my resume. So, but I did that, and then I found out what a PA was. So I was like, okay, now I gotta kind of switch things a little bit. And for PA school, what some people don't know, for PA school, like unlike med school you can go straight from undergrad. PA school is pretty hard to go straight from undergrad because they want you to have like work experience already, like medical, like work experience, patient care, like hands-on patient care. So I had to do that. So I ended up working at a primary care office for a couple years, like 2 years, and then I worked at a hospital in like their like scheduling department for 2 years also, and I was doing that while I was finishing up some prereqs, because honestly the med school application and PA school application, because I've done both, they're basically the same.
Okay.
It's literally the exact same process. They even like the application cycles even open like around similar times, and it's literally the exact same thing. Like PA school, you send out your primary application through med school at AMCAS, something like that. PA school is CASPA. Send out the primary to all the schools, and then they send you the secondary. You do your secondary, send that back, pay a whole bunch of money, and it's literally the same thing.
So it's just as annoying.
Just as annoying, just as expensive.
Okay.
But PA school, there are a couple more requirements. Like we still have to do like biology, chemistry, orgo, all that, all that good stuff. But then PA school also requires medical terminology. What is it? Like anatomy and physiology is a required prereq. I don't think it is for med school.
That wasn't required.
Yeah, because you're gonna do it in med school anyway. But we did it in PA school anyway. But it was still a requirement. And there was another class, but I forgot. Actually, microbiology, is that a requirement for med school?
It was strongly recommended, but it wasn't a requirement.
It's not a requirement. Well, yeah, PA school is required.
Okay.
So I had to do those. That didn't take too long. Anatomy and physiology took a little longer because I actually did it at FIU, but FIU, I think like Eve said in his interview, the class is only anatomy.
Oh.
It's not anatomy and physiology, but honestly you can't teach one without the other. It's impossible. Because you're not going to say like, oh, this is my bicep. Okay, let's move on. No, you're going to talk about what the bicep does. You can't teach anatomy without physiology. But I had to go back and retake it as anatomy and physiology. So I've basically taken, and then I took it again when we got to PA school. So I've taken anatomy like 3 times. So, so like I'm pretty good at it by now. Or you would hope. But yeah, so then after that, like I worked for a few years, finished up my requirements, and then went and applied for PA school. So that gap in between undergrad and starting school is a little longer than I wanted, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
All right, so my next question for you. Walk us through a quick timeline of your schooling. So the classroom overview, basically your curriculum structure, how your didactic years work, how your clinical years work, and how they were structured.
Okay, so when we start, so our whole first year is didactic. So we're in the classroom every day. It was like a job, honestly. We were in the classroom every day from 8 to 5.
Okay.
Every single day. And we have exams. We have probably like anywhere from like 2 to 3 exams a week. Wow. So yes.
It's a lot of exams.
Yes. Like it's literally, because like if you think about it, because the PA school, it's based on like we learn off of the like the medical model. So like same thing that they use for med school, and we learn the same thing just in a shorter amount of time, a condensed amount of time.
Okay.
So we still have to learn all the same stuff, do all the same stuff, shorter amount of time. So we just get tested more often. So it's just constant, non-stop studying all the time for a year.
Now, were your classes like mandatory, like you have to be in the classroom?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the other kind of sucky part. Cause like Nova, my school, we have like a healthcare building. So like PA students, MD, DO, physical therapy, occupational therapy, like we're all in the same area. Like we're all basically in the same building. Okay. So like we would see our like med school people, like, they're like, oh yeah, I'm not going to class. I'll just watch it online, or I'll watch the lecture. And I'm like, dang, we can't do that. Like, our teachers, like, when class starts, they say, okay, here's the attendance sheet, sign it, pass it back in. Like, every class is mandatory.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's an actual job.
Yes. Like, when we applied, actually when I went for my interview, they told me, they were like, you don't plan on working, do you? I'm like, well, I mean, I need money. They're like, you can't.
Oh.
They didn't say you can't, but they're like, I highly suggest that you don't work because the curriculum is pretty crazy. I was like, it can't be that bad. But then I started, and like the first month of school, I was like, oh my god, it is that bad.
The first test always hits you different.
Yeah, and it's like the first couple weeks, like you don't really know much yet. So the first 2 weeks, you're just learning. But once that first test hits, it's like they don't stop until the semester ends, basically. So we were in class 8 to 5 every day, and that's basically the first year. And then the summer, after our first year, we still have classes. So like we don't have summers off. We go straight through the entire 2 years, or 27 months. We, in between semesters, we might get a week or two off, and that's our break. But it's not much more than, it's never more than 2 weeks. 2 weeks is a long break for us.
Wow.
Yeah. So then the summer right before, or right after our didactic year, it's still technically didactic, but they call it advanced didactic. So we're kind of like reviewing everything that we went over in our didactic year to prepare us to go on rotations. So then after that summer, we go to rotations. We have 9 rotations, 6 core, which are the ones we have to do to graduate, and then we have 3 electives.
Okay.
And each rotation is 6 weeks, except right now because coronavirus kind of messed it up. Yeah. So we're still trying to figure out how we're ending these rotations. Like some of them got shortened to like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. It just depends, whatever we can get. But typically there's 6-week rotations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now your core rotations, what would you say your core rotations are?
So, okay, core rotations are internal medicine, family medicine, emergency medicine, general surgery. We have one that's a combined, it's OBGYN and psych. So like half the rotation is OBGYN, the other half is psych.
Okay.
And then the other one, I'm forgetting one.
Those sound pretty close to the medical school core rotations.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's all basically the same. Oh, pediatrics. Oh, yeah. Okay. That's the last one I was forgetting. Peds.
Okay. And then your electives, you get to choose from a list, or is it really kind of like standard?
No, you can really choose whatever. If you can choose whatever you want, and if it's available, they'll try to get it for you. So like people do, like I want to do sports medicine and like orthopedic kind of route. So I have that coming up. People go into dermatology. You can do like specifics, like if you want to go into gastro or endo, if you want to work in the ICU or something, like if they can get it, they'll try to get it for you. Okay. And then we also have, for usually our last rotation, they have what's called a self-ID. So if you are from like New York and you know you want to go back to New York, you can use that as your self-ID. And if you can get a contact there, whatever hospital or office you want to work in, to take you, that'll be your last rotation, your last elective, basically. Like
extension. Okay.
Yeah.
So then actually going off of that, let me ask, during your clinical year, who is your preceptor? Like, are they strictly PAs, or is it like a conglomeration of doctors, DOs, NPs, other PAs?
It can be anybody, honestly. I've worked with all 3. I've worked with PAs, or been precepted by PAs, MDs, DOs. We don't get precepted by nurse practitioners, but I have worked with a nurse practitioner on one of my rotations. But it's usually like doctors and PAs. It can be either or.
That makes sense. And then also going off of that, so in medical school, after each clinical rotation, we take like a shelf exam. Is there like an equivalent in PA school that you also take?
Yeah, so after each rotation, we take our EOR, which is end of rotation exam.
Pretty.
Yeah, and it's basically same as med school. Like it's based on whatever rotation you just finished. So like if I just took internal medicine, I'm gonna take the internal medicine EOR, which is terrible. It's so hard. and then like if I go on family medicine, I take the family medicine EOR. Same things, just like the shelf exams.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. For an experimental question, compare what you do in your profession to like the profession of nurse practitioners or DNPs. How do you distinguish where the separation of work and autonomy lie?
Okay. So to be honest, I really don't know much about nurse practitioners. Like I know a little bit. Like they're pretty similar to like what PAs would do. Like they would work with the doctor. I know just like us, they can see patients, write prescriptions, do all that. But from as far as I know, their schooling is a little different. Like I said earlier, I think PA school is based off of like the medical model of learning. Nurse practitioners is based off the nursing model. So I think like nurse practitioners is more like I think they take more of like a patient holistic kind of approach and like a long-term approach to patient care, whereas like PAs and doctors I think it's more like disease focused.
Okay.
So I think that's a difference, and on top of the schooling, as far as autonomy goes, they might have a little more autonomy than us, because I'm pretty sure nurse practitioners can open their own office. They can work independently, but PAs technically can't. We have to work under a doctor. But as from what I know, the little that I know about nurse practitioner school, they're taught like I think they're more like their education is more focused toward a specific field, whereas PAs, we're general. Like we're taught like a very general, like very broad topic.
Okay.
Or like subject areas. Like we learn everything. And I'm pretty sure nurse practitioners, they like choose a focus and choose an area, and they kind of hone in on that. Yeah, which is why like PAs, like it's so easy for us to move around and like move back and forth between specialties and stuff. And like nurse practitioners, I don't think can do surgery. PAs can. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, as a graduating PA, walk us through the post-school steps. So in medicine, obviously you have residency, and then from residency you go on to kind of specialize and become a physician. What about being a PA? What do you do next, and then how do you go about it?
Okay, so since our last year is all clinical rotations, the hope is that you get a job offer off of one of your rotations. Okay. That's the plan. That's what you hope for. It doesn't always happen, but that's what you hope for. Because when we're done with school, basically like within 2 weeks after graduation is when we take our board exam, or anytime after 2 weeks. So like mine is already scheduled 2 weeks after graduation. So once you take that, if you pass, you're board certified, like nationally certified, you just apply. You start applying. You can actually apply now. Like people have been applying now during school, and you just let the employer know like, okay, I'm not done yet, but I graduate at this time. So if you want to pursue something later. But we just apply and hope we get the job that we want. As far as residency goes, we luckily don't have to do residency. Again, which is why it makes it so easy for PAs to move around between specialties. There are PA residencies, mostly for like general surgery or emergency medicine, that kind of stuff. You can do a residency, but you don't really have to. They say that it might, like obviously it'll give you more experience if you're getting training on that one topic. You'll have more experience, and they say the idea is that it would make you more competitive, but there are people who are just as likely to get a job without doing it.
Yeah.
It's like, from my standpoint, I can't afford to take out any more loans, so I'm not doing residency. So, but you can.
Now, you said that you can't get a job offer from your clinical year.
Yeah.
And obviously your clinicals, with the exception of the last one you said, are mostly focused within the state and or around the area where you're going to school. So then do most PAs end up working where they went to school? Like, you're going to school in Nova, so if you got a job offer, would you just end up staying in Florida and working there?
No, not necessarily. Because, I mean, you can, it obviously makes it easier, but like the places that you apply, the places that are looking for a PA, they know what the PA curriculum is. So if you graduated and you passed the board exam, like it's called the PANCE, not like pants, but PANCE. The PANCE exam, if you pass that, you're certified, they know, like, you know what you're doing. So it's not necessarily you're gonna have to be stuck in whatever state you went to school. One of my classmates actually just got offered a job in New York. Okay. So, and we're not even done yet, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now so once you graduate and you take your board exams, you're certified for any state, anywhere you can go out. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Options limit. Okay. So my next question, how much autonomy do you have as a PA? How would you describe the doctor-PA relationships you encountered during your clinical rotations, or how would you explain the PA-physician dynamic?
Okay. So as far as the autonomy goes, a PA technically has to work under the doctor, like under the supervising physician.
Yeah.
But that all kind of depends on your experience. So if you're right out of school, then obviously you're gonna have to work in the office with the doctor, and he's not gonna be like in the room with you, but usually at the end of the day, the doctor like signs off on, like while he's doing your patient or his patients, he'll sign off on the patients that you did too. Okay. Maybe if especially when you're new, if he'll review what you did, if he sees something he might not agree with, he'll talk to you about it. But they're usually pretty trusting of their PAs, especially doctors who have worked with PAs and know what a PA can do and what they're capable of. They're usually pretty trusting. I shadowed a PA before starting school. The office was run by 2 PAs. I never saw the doctor at all.
Wow.
So, but they were experienced. They've been working for a few years.
Yeah.
So it just depends on your experience. The ones who are more experienced, they can literally run the office by themselves. Okay. So yeah, as far as autonomy goes, it kind of depends on how experienced you are.
Okay. And then, so next question, what are the hours like, especially compared to a physician?
So the hours, it kind of depends, to be honest. It depends on what specialty you're in. So like surgery, for example, everyone knows that surgeons work crazy hours. And when I was on my rotation, I was working those same crazy hours. Like when I first started the rotation, I worked 12 days back to back. The shortest of those days was probably like 7 hours. The longest was probably like 14-ish.
Wow. Okay.
So like it really depends, but typically I think doctors work longer hours, because one of the good things about PA school, and if you research it, everything you research will tell you that PAs have a better like work-life balance. Yeah. Because doctors also have to deal with a little bit more, especially if they have their own practice, like independent practice. They have to deal with more of like the politics behind medicine and like the whole bureaucracy of all of that. But the PAs don't really have to deal with that as much as the doctor does. Okay. Which was a plus for me, because I don't want to deal with all that. I'm here to see my patients and then I'm out. But it kind of depends. But typically doctors work longer hours, I'd say.
So then, what do you see as the biggest challenges facing your specialty within the next 10 to 20 years?
Biggest challenges? Honestly, probably increasing awareness about the PA profession itself. Because like we've touched on a few times, a lot of people don't know what a PA is to this day. A lot of people see the PA and don't know it's the PA because we have the white coat too. We do all that. So a lot of people, unless you say like, "Hey, I'm the PA," which is what we're supposed to do, introduce ourselves as the PA. But if they don't know, they might just assume you're the doctor. Okay. So increasing awareness is a big one. And actually, the PA profession itself is actually growing rapidly. A lot of people don't know it, but it's growing rapidly. They said within the next like 8 to 10 years, it's supposed to like increase by like 38% or something like that. Like it's a pretty big jump, but it's definitely growing, and so increasing awareness, like I said, and just letting people know what we can do and what we're capable of. They're actually up in Washington fighting to change the name from a physician assistant to something else, like physician associate or something else like that. Because when you say physician assistant, people just assume like, oh, you're the assistant, you don't really know what you're doing. Okay. Actually, I do. So that's another thing that's going on in the PA world. They're trying to change the name.
So my next question, what do you wish you knew but you only recognize in hindsight?
Okay, so I'm sure probably like med school. What I wish I knew, I wish somebody would have told me how hard PA school was gonna be, like how hard it's really gonna be, because I mean, like I said, it was just non-stop studying all the time, every single day. Like you really can't do anything but study. Like there's times where you're like, dang, I could take a shower right now, but that's 30 minutes. I don't know. I need to study. That's a valuable 30 minutes. Like I don't know if I can eat right now because I need to study. Like it got to that point sometimes, and like it was hard. But even at our interview, one of actually the program director at that time said, he looked at us, he sat my interview group down, he looked at us and said, you know, I'm sure you heard it's gonna be hard, but you actually have no idea. I was like, wait, what? But yeah, it's one of those things like you really can't know until you're in it. And I mean that's one of the things I wish I would have known. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad I didn't know, because if I did, I don't know if I would have done it.
All right. So then, of course, my last question, which is the ever so known famous question: if you could do it all over again and everything worked
school over again,
like your whole entire change everything, and everything could go perfectly well for you, whether you wanted to become a doctor, whether you wanted to become a PA, whatever you wanted to fall into place, would that fall into place? Would you do it again, or would you go the med school route? So doctor versus PA.
And everything falls into place perfectly?
Yeah.
Oof. No, I'd probably still do PA.
Wow, okay.
I'd probably still do PA. One of the things, like I told you before, I researched PA literally for like 3 months before making the switch.
Okay.
If you take out the money, everything else about the profession, I would choose PA over med school.
Okay. Wow.
That was one of the things that really made me switch, because I was like, dang, you really can't choose a career based on money, even though a lot of people do. So when I took money out of the equation, I really liked everything else about PA better than med school. So yeah, I'd probably still go the PA route.
Now before we go, do you have any advice that you'd like to give to anyone watching, any maybe aspiring PAs, anyone who's currently in PA school, anything at all?
Okay, well, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to you guys right now. Anybody aspiring to be a PA, I would say do your research, really look into it. If the battle is always, oh, do I want to go to med school, do I want to go to PA school? Do your research, like compare and contrast everything, and really take your time with that research to make sure you make the right decision, make sure you're doing what you want to do. Don't do it for the money. As tempting as the MD paycheck is, don't do it for the money. Just really make sure it's something you want. And once you get there, and people who are now currently in PA school, I know it's hard, but you made it this far, what's the point in stopping now? You might as well keep going. So it's all good, you're almost there. That's about it, just keep working hard.
So before we go, do you have any shameless plugs?
Not really. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's TroyP_23. It's TROYP_23.
Alright, perfect. So thank you very much for coming out and doing this for me. Like I said, I've known Troy for a while. I didn't have the I didn't have the pleasure of going to school with him. However, he is my profile, so he has been very crucial and very influential in my journey in becoming and going to med school because I talked to him a few times about the med school process and the struggles and the MCAT and everything going on. So definitely thank you for coming out.
No problem.
To everyone watching, thank you guys for watching. This was the second episode on So You Want to Be, PA version. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and or to Troy. And as always, please remember to like, subscribe, and follow. Thank you guys.